I watched my wife kneel in front of the neighbor through his second-floor bathroom window. That's how this starts. No metaphor. No build-up. Just a light flicking on, and the worst kind of silence. She wasn't fixing anything. She wasn't crying. She was focused. Comfortable. And he wasn't resisting. I didn't barge in. I didn't scream. I filmed it. Because even as my chest collapsed inward, something in me knew. I'd need to prove this wasn't a nightmare. Let me take you back to the night I stopped being a husband and started becoming something colder. My name is Dean Hallberg, and until 4 weeks ago, I thought my wife still loved me. Not in the fireworks and honeymoons way. That kind fades. But in the quiet rituals, morning coffee, forehead kisses, grocery list with little hearts drawn on them. The kind of love that survives real life. We live in a cul-de-sac outside Raleigh. One of those neighborhoods where fences are low and smiles are automatic. You know everyone's name. You wave when you don't want to. I run a small home automation business. Smart security, thermostats, voice-activated lighting. It's decent money and mostly word of mouth. I've even done half the houses on our street. My wife, Morgan, works remote 3 days a week as a marketing consultant for a local credit union. She does Pilates before sunrise. She color codes our spice rack. She's beautiful in the way that sneaks up on people, not flashy, but unforgettable once you've seen her laugh. And she was having an affair with the guy who lives 2 houses down. I wasn't suspicious. That's the worst part. No late nights. No strange texts. No sudden wardrobe changes. Just a slow drift. Fewer shared meals. Fewer touches. A distracted tone when I asked about her day. I chalked it up to routine, stress, hormones, anything but what it really was. Then came the night I took the trash out late. That was the first time I saw them. It was humid. August thick. Our dog had knocked over the kitchen bin, so I was dragging the second bag out just before midnight. Eric Riley's upstairs bathroom window caught my eye, mostly because the blinds were still up. That was strange. He was usually meticulous. I glanced up and stopped because Morgan was in there, hair tied up, wearing nothing but a sports bra and something that wasn't hers, a t-shirt too long in the sleeves. She was standing between his knees. He was sitting on the counter, and she slowly, deliberately sank to her knees in front of him. My mind went blank. Not rage. Not heartbreak. Just static. Like someone had cut the audio on the world. They were close enough to touch. Her hands were on his waist. His fingers threaded into her hair, guiding her gently but firmly. There was no hesitation in either of them. Like this wasn't a secret. Like it had happened before. My phone was in my hand before I realized what I was doing. I hit record. Not because I wanted to immortalize it. Because I didn't trust myself to believe it later. It lasted 40 seconds. 40 seconds that shattered 11 years of marriage. I stood in the driveway long after the window went dark. The video played in my head on a loop. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it was some other woman, a relative, a friend. The mind grasps for exits when the room catches fire. But I knew. I'd know the shape of her silhouette in the dark. I'd know the arch of her neck from any angle. I'd memorized her without meaning to. She came home just after 1 a.m. Told me she'd gone for a long drive to clear her head. Then she kissed my cheek and went to bed. I didn't sleep. I sat in my office, lights off, phone screen glowing, watching, rewinding, watching again. Not out of voyeurism, out of disbelief. I kept waiting for her to change, for some flicker of guilt across her face, for her to pull away, for him to apologize. But she looked content, like he was giving her something I hadn't in years. That thought hit harder than anything else. The next morning, I was still on autopilot. Made coffee, took the dog out, said nothing. She acted normal. Light conversation. Checked emails. Laughed at something on her phone. That hurt most of all, that she could be so casual after what she'd done. By noon, I couldn't take it anymore. I needed someone to confirm I wasn't losing my grip on reality. So I texted Rachel, Eric's wife. Hey, can we talk? It's about Morgan and Eric. Please. She replied instantly. Are you home? I was. She came over 10 minutes later. Rachel looked exhausted. No makeup. Eyes puffy. Like someone who hadn't slept in days. I think something's going on, she said before I even opened my mouth. I know it is, I said. And then I showed her the video. She watched without speaking. No gasp. No cry. Just a slow, tightening stillness. When it ended, she handed the phone back with shaking fingers. That's not the first time, she said quietly. I looked at her. You knew. She shook her head. I suspected. But now, she didn't finish. Just looked at me for a long, loaded second. And then, out of nowhere, she said, "Do you want to hurt them?" The question didn't sound like a joke. It sounded like an invitation. I didn't answer. Not yet. Because I wasn't sure what kind of man I was about to become. But I knew one thing. This wasn't over. Not even close. 15 minutes. That's how long I waited after she asked me, "Do you want to hurt them?" I paced my hallway like a ghost. Tried to get it out of my head. Splash water on my face. Breathe. But I couldn't. I couldn't stop seeing Morgan's hands on his skin. Her lips wrapped around a lie. So I grabbed my keys, crossed the street, and walked straight into a decision I'll never be able to undo. What happened in Rachel's house wasn't planned. It wasn't gentle. It was two people trying to erase their marriages with their bodies and realizing it never works. I didn't text. Didn't knock. I opened her garage door from the side panel, the one I helped Eric install last winter when it jammed during a cold snap, and stepped into her house like a fuse looking for flame. Rachel was in the kitchen, still in that loose hoodie and pajama bottoms. Her back was turned, but when she heard the door close, she didn't flinch. She didn't ask what I was doing there. She already knew. We didn't speak. I crossed the room. She turned, eyes scanning mine like a mirror for damage. She saw it. I saw it in her too. And then we collided. It wasn't soft. It wasn't slow. It was need. My hands on her hips. Her hands in my shirt. Mouths desperate. Movements clumsy but urgent, like we were both trying to tear something invisible off our skin. She pulled me toward the stairs, but I stopped her. The wall was closer. Her back hit it with a soft gasp. I kissed her harder. She pulled me in by the waistband, lips parting without hesitation. We didn't take our clothes all the way off. Just enough. Her fingers dragged through my hair. Mine pressed into the back of her neck like I was holding on for gravity. It wasn't romantic. It was instinct. Survival. A moment so filled with betrayal it almost felt like honesty. Afterward, we didn't look at each other right away. Our breathing slowed. Our bodies unpeeled. My hand slipped from her waist like it was apologizing. She fixed her hoodie. I adjusted my shirt. The silence wasn't awkward. It was heavy. Real. Like we'd both just walked into a room that locked behind us. I finally said, "This was a mistake." She didn't argue. She just nodded. And whispered, "One we needed." Then she stepped into the other room and closed the door. I let myself out the way I came in. Back in my own house, everything felt too still. Too clean. Morgan was asleep upstairs. Or pretending to be. I sat in the dark on the couch, elbows on my knees, the scent of Rachel still clinging to my skin. And I hated that it didn't feel wrong. What Morgan did broke me. But what I did was deliberate. The next morning, I woke to the sound of the blender. Morgan in the kitchen. Ponytail. Yoga pants. Like any other Thursday. She handed me a smoothie. Peach mango. My favorite. I took it. My hand brushed hers. She didn't pull away. "Big day today?" she asked, sipping hers. "Yeah," I said. And I had no idea whether I meant work. Or whatever was happening between all four of us. I didn't talk to Rachel for 2 days. Not because I didn't want to. Because I didn't know what I wanted from her. This wasn't a love story. It wasn't a revenge pact. It was something else. And it had already gone too far. But on Saturday, she texted, "Rachel, we need to talk. Not about that night. About what comes next." I stared at it for a long time. Then replied, "Come by after 6. She showed up at 6:17. Wore jeans. A zip-up fleece. Hair pulled back like she was guarding her expression with discipline. We sat on my back porch, quiet at first. She broke the silence. I didn't sleep for a day after that night. Me neither. "I'm not sorry it happened," she said. "But I don't want to repeat it just because we're angry." I nodded. "Same." She turned toward me. "But I do want to finish what we started." I looked at her. She didn't mean us. She meant them. She pulled out her phone and opened a recording app. "Eric doesn't delete his messages," she said. "And Morgan? She forgets I can see your shared location. Their phones sync through our family Wi-Fi. If we plan this right, we can prove everything. Not just the act, but the intent." I frowned. "And then what?" "We drop it on them. In front of both families. No denials. No gaslighting. Just truth. All at once." It sounded cathartic, but also cold. I wasn't sure if I was angry enough for that, or if I was just hurting too much to say no. That night, I walked into my own house and found Morgan in the dining room, folding laundry. She looked up, smiled. "Want a glass of wine?" I hesitated. then nodded. She poured two, handed me one. We sat on the couch, watched something forgettable on Netflix. She leaned into me, head on my shoulder, and I let her, because as much as I wanted justice, I didn't know if I wanted her gone. Not yet. And that scared me more than anything. End of part 2. Coming in part 3, Wired for Lies. Dean and Rachel begin quietly setting up digital traps, sync devices, audio logs, and shared app data. But as Morgan grows more affectionate and confusingly sincere, Dean's grip on what's real begins to falter. Meanwhile, a secret Rachel's been hiding is about to surface. You know what's worse than being lied to? When the liar suddenly starts treating you like they never hurt you. Morgan started touching me again, smiling, laughing at my dumb jokes, as if the night I caught her on her knees in someone else's bathroom never happened. And the worst part? I wanted to believe her. But while she curled beside me on the couch, I had Rachel syncing their phones behind her back. Because love can make you hesitate. But revenge? Revenge is all about timing. Rachel's plan wasn't complicated. She didn't want scandal. She wanted confirmation, clean, undeniable evidence of what we already knew, packaged in a way neither Eric nor Morgan could talk their way out of. And she had the tools to get it. Their phones were already set to auto-connect to the Ryla's home Wi-Fi. Same with Bluetooth. Rachel installed a cloud-based backup app that mirrored new text messages, screen activity, and even microphone access when the phone was idle. It wasn't exactly legal, but it wasn't stupid, either. She never turned on video, never accessed files that weren't part of active conversations. And she never told me the app's name. For plausible deniability, she said. All I knew was, we were recording everything now. And the countdown had started. I started keeping a journal. Not because I'm the sentimental type. Because I was losing my grip on what was real. On Tuesday, Morgan made me banana bread. The kind with chopped walnuts, my favorite. She came into the garage while I was tuning a speaker panel, leaned against the frame, and said, I miss us. I looked up from the driver's seat. She wasn't crying, just watching me, searching for something in my face. I didn't say anything. I didn't trust my voice. That night, she wore my old t-shirt to bed, the faded one with the vintage boat engine logo, the one she used to steal before road trips. She didn't try to touch me, but she didn't pull away when I brushed her hand beneath the covers either. Wednesday, Rachel sent me the first batch of logs. Text snippets. Morgan, I had a dream about that shower again. Eric, the upstairs one or the lake house. Morgan, lake. You and that wine bottle. I was sore all weekend. Eric, you love it. Admit it. Morgan, I love you. I stared at the screen so long my eyes burned. Then I slammed the laptop shut. That night, Morgan asked if I wanted to go on a walk. We hadn't done that in months. She brought a flashlight, wore a hoodie of mine. We walked quietly through the cul-de-sac. Leaves skittered in the wind. A motion light flicked on as we passed the Ryla's driveway. She didn't flinch, didn't even glance at the house where her affair began. Instead, she slipped her hand into mine. It was muscle memory, and I hated how good it still felt. Back at the house, she poured us both glasses of wine, sat beside me on the couch, her legs draped over mine. You've been quiet lately, she said. I stared at the TV. Just a lot on my mind. She tilted her head, brushed my hair back from my forehead. I've been thinking, she said. Maybe we take a weekend. Just us. Get out of town. Talk things through. My chest tightened. Why now? I asked. She hesitated. Because I miss who we were. And maybe we're not completely broken. I couldn't tell if it was real or rehearsed. But she looked so sure, so sincere. And I felt myself softening, despite everything. Rachel texted at 1:12 a.m. that night. Rachel, we got it. Me got what? Rachel, they're planning to get a rental next weekend. He's booking it. Her idea. Me, where? Rachel, Wilmington. She told him she's ready to stop sneaking around. I stared at the message for a long time. Morgan had just fallen asleep beside me. I could hear her breathing. I watched her chest rise and fall. And I thought, why now? Why the wine? Why the walk? Had she felt guilty? Or had she just wanted to calm the waters before swimming back to him? The next day, I installed a motion camera in our hallway. Silent. No lights. No alerts. Just a tiny pinhole lens pointed at the living room. Rachel did the same on her end. A mic near Eric's home office, just outside their bedroom. We were both waiting. Not for sex. Not for video. For words. Proof. And we got them. Friday evening. 6:42 p.m. Rachel sent me a voice clip. Crackly, barely audible, but clear enough. Eric, you sure your husband won't notice the charge? Morgan, he won't. He's been distracted. And weirdly sweet. I think he thinks we're reconnecting. Eric, that's perfect. The quieter he is, the easier the split will be when you're ready. Morgan, I just want to get away with you. Be real again. Eric, next weekend. Just you and me. I clenched my jaw so hard I thought something cracked. Weirdly sweet. That's what she thought of me trying to keep myself from falling apart. I didn't tell Rachel how that clip made me feel, but she sensed it. She called an hour later. Are you still in this? She asked. I'm in, I said, but I didn't know what that meant anymore. That weekend, something shifted. Morgan got affectionate. Touch lingered. She made breakfast. She played our old playlist while cleaning. She even put a sticky note on my steering wheel that said, "Have a great day. I still believe in us." I wanted to scream. Because part of me, the one that built a life with her, that memorized her laugh, wanted to believe it back. But the rest of me? The part listening to voice clips and reading sext she didn't know I had? That part wanted to see her face when she realized I had never been fooled. Sunday night, Rachel came over. She brought the latest dump from Eric's phone. But before she showed me, she paused. There's something I need to tell you. I waited. She bit her lip. I didn't tell you the full truth about what Eric and I have been through. What do you mean? She took a breath. A year ago, I had an affair. I stared at her. It was emotional, mostly, but real. Eric found out. We almost split. That's why he started pulling away. That's why this happened. I didn't say anything. She looked away. I didn't tell you because I didn't want to lose your help. But you deserve the full picture. I nodded slowly, then asked, do you still love him? Her eyes welled, but she nodded. Yes. And that's what makes this so hard. I wanted him to fight for me. Instead, he ran to your wife. I didn't sleep that night. Because suddenly, I didn't know who was worse. Them or us. They thought they'd get away with it. A weekend rental. Private beach. Clean break from the lies. What they didn't know. Rachel and I had the address, the check-in confirmation, and the pin to the smart lock, which I'd installed last year through my business. So when Morgan poured her wine and stepped onto the balcony with Eric's hand at her lower back, she had no idea I was already downstairs. And what happened next didn't go how any of us expected. The Airbnb was on the edge of Wrightsville Beach. 3 bedrooms, whitewashed floors, dock access. Eric booked it under the name Tom Reeve. A weak alias, 1 letter off his own. I guess liars get lazy when they think they're winning. We waited for them to check in before we moved. Rachel and I drove separately. I parked 3 blocks down, walked the last 100 yards with a duffel over my shoulder and a GoPro clipped under my collar. Rachel stayed in the rental car. No drama. No lights. No witnesses. I was wired emotionally and literally. My pulse pounded in my throat. I wasn't sure if I was doing this for justice, or just to see her face when she realized I was never the fool. I let myself in at 7:23 p.m. They'd left the patio slider unlocked. I could hear music. Low jazz. That same ambient garbage Eric always played to sound cultured. I crept through the kitchen and stopped at the hallway's edge. And there they were. Morgan on the balcony, barefoot, wineglass in hand. Eric behind her, hands on her hips, whispering something in her ear. She turned to him, kissed him. Deep. Slow. Like she didn't have a husband. Like I didn't exist. I could have walked out right then. But I didn't. I turned on the mic. Snapped a single photo from the hallway with the lens zoomed. They didn't see me. I stepped back, heart hammering, and slipped out through the side door. Rachel was waiting in the car. Got it? She asked. I nodded. I handed her the camera. She didn't check it. She just stared straight ahead and said, let's go. We didn't speak on the drive back. I thought I'd feel triumphant. Instead, I felt worse. Not because they were together. I already knew that. It was because she looked so happy. Like being with him wasn't a thrill or mistake, but a decision. One she wasn't second-guessing. The next day, Rachel uploaded the footage to a private folder and sent me the link. We agreed to wait until Monday to confront them. Back in the cul-de-sac, their absence was obvious. 2 empty driveways. 2 dark houses. I spent that night alone. Morgan had texted earlier. Hope you're doing okay. I know things have been tense. I want to talk when I get back. A warm lie. A gentle deception. I stared at that message and felt nothing. Then I clicked the video link and watched her kiss him again. Only this time, I paused it. Right at the moment her eyes closed. like she trusted him completely. And that's when something cracked. Monday, 8:42 a.m. Morgan walked into the house carrying a canvas bag of groceries and a soft smile like the weekend hadn't happened. "Hey," she said. I nodded. She leaned in, brushed a kiss against my cheek, instinctive, casual, and pulled back before I could move. "You sleep okay this weekend?" I stared at her. "Did you?" She froze for a fraction of a second, then smiled again. "I did, actually." I waited. She didn't say more. I nodded once and walked into the kitchen. And she let me go. Rachel's confrontation came first. I found out through a neighbor who heard the screaming. Eric's voice, Rachel's sobs, something crashing. Apparently, she showed him the photo. Didn't say a word. Just dropped it on the table and waited. He denied it, then folded within a minute. Rachel told him she wanted him gone. He refused. Said, "I'm not giving up on us just because I made a mistake." Mistake. Like Morgan was a misplaced decimal point. That night, I came home late. Morgan was in the backyard, barefoot in the grass, drinking from a bottle of rose. She looked at me like nothing had changed. "You want some?" she asked. "No." She took another sip. "Are you going to ask me where I was?" "I know where you were." Her lips parted slightly. She lowered the bottle. "You do." "I was there, Morgan." She didn't answer. "I saw you. With him. In Wilmington." Now her eyes met mine. No tears. No apologies. Just quiet. "How long have you known?" she asked. "Long enough." She nodded slowly. Took another sip. Then whispered, "Okay." That was it. No denial. No screaming. Just acknowledgement. And then she stepped toward me. And kissed me. It wasn't tender. It was claiming. Hands in my shirt. Breath in my mouth. Her body pressing into mine like she didn't care what I knew. Like she was betting I wouldn't stop her. And I didn't. We ended up on the couch. Clothes half on, half off. Movements full of something twisted, not love. Not lust. Something between surrender and defiance. We didn't speak when it was over. She lay beside me, bare shoulder against mine, breathing slow. And in that silence, I thought, she's winning again. The next morning, I woke up alone. My phone buzzed. It was Rachel. "Rachel, he's staying. Said our marriage is stronger now." Can you believe that? I sat up. Reread it twice. Me, "You're not leaving him?" "Rachel," he begged. He cried. He said I'm the only one who ever saw him. And I wanted to believe it. So I did. "Rachel, we're in counseling. Don't hate me." "Rachel, it's different for you. You still have time." I stared at the screen for 5 minutes. Time? Time for what? To win Morgan back? To leave her? To become the kind of man who doesn't just sit in the middle of betrayal? I didn't respond. Because I didn't know who I was anymore. That night, Morgan sat on the edge of our bed. "You're not going to use it, are you?" she asked. I looked up. "Use what?" "The footage. The photos. The proof." She looked tired, but calm. "You could blow everything up," she said. "But if you haven't by now, you're still deciding." I said nothing. She tilted her head. "You still love me, don't you?" I wanted to lie, but I didn't. "Yes." She smiled, then whispered, "Good," and kissed my forehead, like she already knew she'd won. She testified against me. Rachel, the one person who saw what Morgan did, the only one who knew how it felt. I thought she'd help me bury them. Instead, she sat in court and told the judge that I slept with her, that it wasn't a rumor, that it wasn't speculation, that it happened. And just like that, the court called it mutual infidelity. My leverage disappeared. The house I wanted to keep, now split 50-50. And Morgan? She didn't look relieved. She looked calm, like she knew this was coming. And now we both live here, ex-husband and ex-wife, waiting for a buyer, sleeping in separate rooms, and trying not to remember what we did that night. The courtroom was silent when Rachel finished speaking. She sat straight, voice steady, palms flat on her lap. "I had sex with Dean," she said, like she was reading from a script. It wasn't coercion. It wasn't manipulation. It was mutual. I was angry, hurt. We both were. Morgan didn't react, just blinked once. Eric didn't even look at her. The judge exhaled, wrote something down, and that was it. The case I'd built, the videos, the messages, the dates, all of it collapsed under one truth I couldn't deny. I slept with Rachel, and I never expected her to say it out loud. After the hearing, Morgan didn't gloat. She didn't smile. She just walked past me in the hallway, heel sharp on tile, and said, "Now we both get nothing." It was the most honest thing she'd said in months. We weren't awarded spousal support. No party was granted sole ownership of the house. We had to sell it and split the money. Problem was, the market was tanking. The listing sat stagnant. A few walkthroughs. A lowball offer we both rejected. So we stayed. Same house. Different beds. Divorce finalized. But nothing really over. The silence was worse than the fighting. At least when we screamed, I knew what she felt. No? She moved like a stranger in her own skin. Polite. Measured. Always a step out of reach. We cooked on separate nights. Did laundry at different hours. Slept with doors closed and windows open, as if we could air out what happened between us. But the air never cleared. Until one night. It was raining hard. One of those storms that shakes the windows. I was in the garage, fixing a cabinet hinge, just to do something with my hands. She appeared in the doorway. Barefoot. No makeup. One of my sweatshirts from college, the one with the frayed cuffs and faded lettering. Her voice was quiet. You still think about it? She asked. I didn't need to ask what it meant. I just looked at her. She stepped closer. I do, she said. More than I should. I stood up. Didn't speak. She was close now. Arms crossed like she didn't trust herself. I'm not asking for anything, she said. I just needed to say that. And then she turned to go. But I stopped her. Gently. And we kissed. It wasn't rough. It wasn't performative. It was quiet. Slow. Familiar. We moved through it like a dream we were both scared to wake from. Hands over old scars. Mouths remembering old paths. Her breath caught when I touched her jaw, the same way it always used to. She whispered my name once. Just once. And then it was over. No words. No promises. Just the soft exhale of two people who couldn't figure out if they were still enemies. Or something worse. We never spoke about it again. The house remained unsold. Each week, the price dropped. We kept living like roommates in purgatory. Some nights, she made dinner for both of us without asking. Some mornings, I left coffee by the door to her office. Not out of love. Out of confusion. Because every time I started to hate her again. She'd say something that sounded real. And every time I started to believe her. I'd remember how easily she lied the first time. One night, I found her in the backyard, sitting on the old patio bench in silence. She looked up when I approached. You still want to hurt me? She asked. It wasn't a challenge. Just a question. I sat beside her. I don't know, I said. She nodded. Sometimes I wonder, she said. If I told you I regret everything, would you believe me? I don't know that either. She looked at me. Really looked. Then we're both stuck. The next morning, the realtor emailed. A buyer was interested. All cash. Wanted to close fast. We didn't celebrate. We just signed the papers. And started boxing up the pieces. Now I'm sleeping in a short-term rental with blank walls and no echoes. The house closes in 3 weeks. We'll both get our checks. We'll go our separate ways. And yet, some nights, I still imagine her voice at the top of the stairs. Still picture her fingers on the mug I forgot to wash. Still wonder if she ever meant any of it. The regret, the softness, the kiss. Maybe she loved me once. Maybe she never did. Maybe sleeping with her that night was weakness. Or maybe it was the last honest thing we had. I still have the folder. The evidence. The footage. The messages. I never deleted it. Sometimes I open it. Just to remember that I wasn't crazy. But I've never sent it to anyone. Not yet. Maybe I'm still deciding. Do I destroy her? Or do I let it die? Because if she was lying even now, if all that warmth was just control, then I've already lost twice. But if she meant it? If any part of her still hurts for what she did? Then I'm the one keeping us both in the fire.